It's night 2. On Hoo-Hoo, Malum hugs Karen and asks her if she voted Sophia tonight, and she admits she did. Her decision mainly came down to how the discussion went, and she felt like Sophia played way too hard. Malum hopes he's not in trouble for voting Liana. If Liana finds out he voted her, it could stir up into something worse. Liana and Jaya chat about the people who did not vote Sophia tonight. Liana is only certain that Sophia and Sarah voted for her. Mark most likely voted BJ because of their disagreement yesterday. Jaya definitely trusts BJ and Eric and doesn't feel like they flipped. Liana says it has to be between Romero, Karen, and Malum as the third vote for her. Meanwhile, Mark tells Sarah and Eric that he voted for BJ. He didn't want to be part of the actual vote between Sophia and Liana, but that doesn't mean he wants BJ to stay. In fact, he voted for BJ hoping it would make him a target. Sarah says she was left out of the loop for the Sophia vote, so at this point, she wouldn't mind trying to get BJ out if that's what the majority want. Eric says he isn't sure if people would be willing to do that, but he will have his own chats and find out. Later in the night, Liana and BJ pull in Malum and Karen to figure out the third vote on Liana from the last vote. Both Malum and Karen claim they voted for Sophia due to her chaotic tribal performance. Liana says that someone definitely flipped on her, so if it wasn't either of them, Romero must have done it. Malum immediately agrees and says that Romero probably had an alliance with Sophia, hence why he did not vote for her. BJ says that at this point, if they have to go to tribal again, they should either just vote Sarah out as the easy option or take out Romero for sneakily flipping his vote. On to Hoopai, Anna tells Emma how nerve-wracking the vote was. Emma feels the opposite and says it was predictable for her. She knew Sam was going home the moment he started arguing with various tribe members. Anna says she's glad she voted for Sam and wonders who voted Caden. Emma shrugs and says it could have been anyone. However, it's not her problem because she couldn't care less about Caden's game. Allison tries to strengthen her bonds, starting with Boo Boo and Jared. She tells them they can easily form a strong alliance with Emma, Caden, Anna, and Adriana. That just leaves Tanner and Ivy since they are the outliers right now. Jared doesn't understand the concept of an alliance and straight up tells Allison that he doesn't have any interest in this plan because it's too confusing. He tells her to leave him out of this alliance and keep him out of the loop from now on. Of course, Allison and Boo Boo are both stunned by this but let him walk off. Jared continues to look around for a hidden immunity idol, not knowing it was already found by Adriana. Day 3 arrives, and it's time for this season's first reward challenge. Everyone finds out that Sophia and Sam were voted out last night. Both tribes pay more attention to Allison and Sarah, wondering what they will do since their rival's fate is in their hands. Justin reveals that they must deal with something else before getting to the reward challenge. Justin then calls in the first two boots, Sophia and Sam, so they walk in. He reveals that Allison and Sarah will need to make a massive decision right now. They can either keep their rival in the game, meaning the rival would remain at rival redemption camp, or they can eliminate their rival from the game for good. Justin warns Allison and Sarah that they themselves will not be allowed on rival redemption if voted off in the pre-merge if they choose to eliminate their rival. However, if they keep them around, Allison and Sarah would automatically stay at rival redemption if voted out themselves. Justin then turns to Allison and asks her to reveal her decision. Allison makes it abundantly clear that she came into this game not wanting any drama that has to do with her personal life. She says that for her own good and safety, she chooses to eliminate Sophia from the game. Everyone looks at Sophia, who is visibly disappointed. Justin then turns to Sarah and asks her if she will keep Sam in the game or if she will eliminate him. Sarah breathes out and stares right at Sam. She tells him he must have shown his true colors to be the first one voted off. Sam then begs her to keep him and promises not to ruin her game if he returns. Everyone looks at Sarah. She proceeds to say that she doesn't want to fall for him, and she wants to take things into her own hands and be the reason he leaves this game for good. She chooses to eliminate Sam, and whispers the word revenge to herself. Justin then lets Sophia and Sam know that they are out of the game for good, so they both head out. Allison doesn't show any emotion as she watches Sophia go. Sophia and Sam's final thoughts. Sophia states that she obviously feels miserable seeing her ex take her out of the game like this, but ultimately, she understands it all came down to her tribe voting her out. She's not that upset over it. Sam then says he feels nothing right now. He knew going into this game he would struggle to create proper relationships, especially knowing the whole time that his ex was on the other tribe. He hopes Sarah ends up getting out before the merge so her risk of taking him out doesn't pay off. Justin explains the reward challenge for today. In this, the tribe must pick 7 drink mixers and 2 cleaners. The 7 mixers will go up to the bar table one at a time and quickly create an alcoholic drink. They must then head to a table and sit down so the next person can go. Once all 7 mixers are finished and seated, the remaining people with their drink must quickly finish so the 2 cleaners can clean up the cups. The first tribe to successfully finish the drinks and have all 9 tables clear of cups will win reward. Today, the reward is very beneficial for early game practice. The winning tribe will receive a treadmill to practice their physical endurance and a chess table to improve their logic skills. These will come in handy for future challenges. The challenge begins with Jaya mixing first for Hoo and Jared mixing first for Hoopai. The cleaners on both tribes are Romero and Mark for Hoo and Anna and Allison for Hoopai. Jared finishes his drink a bit before Jaya and sits down, allowing Caden to go next, followed by Karen after Jaya sits down. Karen finishes before Caden, saving a massive amount of time for Hoo. Liana is up next for Hoo, and she finishes right after Caden finishes for Hoopai. Ivy and Eric head up for their tribes. So far, Hoo leads with 3 points against Wopai's 2 points. Ivy struggles big time creating her drink, letting Eric fly ahead and earn the 4th point for Hoo. Sarah goes up next, and Ivy still struggles to make her drink, allowing Sarah to also finish before Ivy. Ivy eventually finishes, though, meaning Adriana and BJ are now up. BJ is the first to really struggle for Hoo, and Adriana finishes fairly quickly, making the score 5-4. BJ continues to lose a lot of time, letting Emma finish before him. Finally, BJ finishes, but Boo Boo is right behind him for Hoopai. With it being tied up, it's a final battle between Malum and Tanner. In the end, Malum finishes first, so Romero and Mark start picking up the empty cups. Malum chugs down his drink while Tanner reaches his table. It's too late for Hoopai, because Hoo finishes first and wins reward. They will get their treadmill and chess table back at camp. Both tribes then head back home. At Hoo, BJ is the first to try out the new treadmill his tribe won. He sees this as a great opportunity to keep himself fit in preparation for future physical challenges. On the other hand, Mark is the first to try out the chess table. He figures there has to be a chess challenge in the future, so he'll do his best to hog it from everyone else so only he has the upper hand when the challenge comes around. Eric and Jaya chat in the meantime about Sarah and Mark. Eric tells her that Mark is trying to get rid of BJ and that Sarah instantly jumped onto that plan. Jaya feels much closer to Liana and BJ than Mark and Sarah, so in her opinion, it's much better to just take out Mark since he's an immediate threat to their majority. Eric agrees and says he has zero interest working with him and Sarah. Sarah talks to Romero about where he stands right now because he's one of the people who seems to be in the middle of 2, somewhat distinct sides. Romero says he's not in any firm alliance as of now and that he's still technically exploring his options. The one person he doesn't see himself working with is Mark, so he's someone he's heavily considering voting off next. Sarah understands how hard it is to work with Mark. She admits that he's going after BJ. Romero finds this interesting because he does see BJ, Liana, and Jaya as a triple threat. The only question is whether they have enough people on board to make a move against them, and he doesn't see it happening. Malum, Karen, and BJ chat about the next target for their tribe. Malum starts by saying he trusts Romero the least because he's a very quiet player. Karen jumps on and says she feels the same way about him. BJ is more worried about Mark and Sarah over Romero, but he sees why Romero is a scary player. Malum says he wouldn't be surprised if Romero had something hidden from them, like an advantage or an idol. If they can blindside Romero, there's a small chance they flush something valuable in his pocket. All three agree it might be the right move to eliminate a quiet player like Romero. On Hupai, Tanner talks to Anna and Ivy, realizing that the three of them are on the bottom now. He knows for a fact that Allison, Emma, and Caden are running the majority alliance and likely have Boo Boo, Adriana, and Jared voting with them. They need to take a shot at that majority if they plan to survive their next vote. Ivy feels like it's quite clear that Emma has all the control in the game right now. Anna agrees and thinks that both Emma and Allison are locked in together, most likely ride or dies at this point. Tanner says that at this point, the plan is to loop in Jared, Adriana, and Boo Boo to take a shot at those two. Meanwhile, Boo Boo, Emma, and Adriana talk about the reward challenge. Emma is extremely annoyed with the people that took forever to make their drink, specifically Ivy and Caden. However, since Caden is technically not against them, Ivy is probably the best person to vote off if they lose immunity tomorrow. Boo Boo says that Ivy never puts enough effort into building a relationship with him, so he's completely fine if she's the one going. Adriana agrees and already knows that her and Tanner are going to try to rip their majority apart. Allison and Caden grow closer on both a personal and game level. Allison feels like she can rely on him in the game. She admits her closeness to Emma but realizes that's not enough for her in the game. Caden says he's chill with both her and Emma and that he wants to ride this game with them. He also feels very close to Boo Boo, so that's another number for them. Allison says that as long as they keep their numbers close, they have a giant advantage against Tanner and Ivy. Jared talks to Tanner and eventually spills to him what Allison tried to do last night. He claims that Allison wanted to make this thing called an alliance with 7 people, excluding Ivy and Tanner. He doesn't understand what made her think 7 people would bond with each other because he quite simply doesn't relate to anyone on this tribe. Tanner confirms this was his worst fear. He had a feeling someone was trying to rally the numbers against him and Ivy. He's just surprised that Allison trusts Anna because Anna voted Caden last night. Despite this, he asks Jared if he wants to vote out Allison next, and Jared says he would really like that. It would remove a very complicated person from their tribe. Jared then goes to Allison and tells her everything he and Tanner spoke about. She's in shock when she finds out that Jared leaked information to him and that Tanner now knows she's directing this alliance of 7. She asks Jared why he leaked the information to him, and Jared says he didn't like the ideas she was coming up with, so he had to be honest with Tanner. Jared even adds that him and Tanner are definitely voting for her next time they go to tribal, and Allison is speechless. Jared adds that this vote is very personal for him because he doesn't like complicated people, and she definitely is hard to be around. Allison's only response is the word wow, and Jared walks off to look for an idol again. Night 3. At Hoo-Hoo, Sarah talks to Liana and tries to smooth things over with her. She tells Liana that she doesn't really want her out and that she just wasn't sure who else to vote last tribal. Liana says she knows she's not the one trying to make moves early on. She knows Sophia targeted her and likely spread her name to other people. Liana asks her if she knows any names that have been spreading around as new targets, but Sarah shakes her head, claiming she has no clue who people are voting for next. The only name she can think of is her own because she's an easy vote. Liana thanks her for approaching her and promises that she doesn't hold anything against her for the last vote. Eric and BJ chat in the meantime about Mark and Sarah. Eric reveals that he spoke to Jaya earlier today about Mark targeting BJ, so now he's coming to him to directly tell him that Mark is after him. BJ thanks him for informing him and says that at this point, Mark can go home, even though it would be a major hit against the tribe's physical strength. Eric reveals that Sarah isn't innocent either because she's also on board to vote BJ. BJ says that Sarah is the last of his concerns because she's unable to do anything if nobody fully trusts her. Karen and Liana have a chat about the previous vote. Liana says it's still bothering her that she doesn't know the third vote against her. She only knows that Sophia and Sarah voted her, but nobody else is admitting to it. Karen lets her know the truth and says Malum voted her, but it wasn't anything against her personally. He just thought the majority was leaning that direction. Liana isn't happy to hear this at all because if it's really true, she and Malum never told her about that sooner. Karen apologizes to her and says she doesn't want her to be paranoid over the third vote. At this rate, it's better if they stay as a strong unit and target the quiet person on the tribe, Romero. Eric, BJ, and Jaya come together, knowing at this point that Mark and Sarah are after BJ, while Malum and Karen are after Romero. Jaya feels like it's better to just vote out Romero to prevent any cracks on their tribe. BJ doesn't agree and says he much rather would want Mark out because he's directly after him. He doesn't care if Karen and Malum want Romero out. They don't have the numbers anyway if the three of them and Liana vote Mark. In that case, Malum and Karen would need to give in and vote Mark as well. All three then split off to head to bed. Once all three split off, BJ falls asleep on the sand from exhaustion. The sun rises, meaning it's day 4 in the game. Both tribes arrive to their mats, ready for the immunity challenge. Justin takes back the individual immunity necklaces from Jaya and Tanner and reveals that they are now playing for tribal immunity. In today's challenge, tribes will pick one member each round to face off in a roller skating duel. The goal is to continuously roller skate around the rink without falling. If you fall, the other tribe scores a point. The first tribe to score 4 points wins immunity. Players are not allowed to head up twice in this challenge. Round 1 begins, and it's between Malum and Anna. Very quickly, Malum falls to the floor and Anna scores the first point for Hupai. In round 2, it's Romero against Adriana. This round takes a long time, and eventually, Adriana slips and falls to the floor, giving Huhu their first point. Round 3 is BJ against Emma, and after getting around half the rink, BJ falls down, giving Hupai their second point. In the 4th round, Sarah and Caden face off. Sarah falls down only halfway around the rink, giving Hupai their 3rd point. If they score once more, they win immunity. For round 5, Mark steps up for Huhu, and he was about to face off Tanner, but Ivy asked her tribe to let her go up because she wants to take a crack at her son-in-law. They all allow her to go up, though hesitant due to her previous challenge performance. Ivy then steps up, and Mark realizes who he's up against. He scoffs and smiles, but Ivy yells from across the rink to erase that smile off of his face because she's not playing nice. Some jaws on Huhu drop to the floor after hearing her comment. Justin begins the round, and both Ivy and Mark dash around the rink. Mark almost loses his balance but regains it. Both Ivy and Mark almost slip at the same time, but both recover. Tanner yells the loudest as he roots for Ivy to win. Then, Mark falls to the floor, meaning Ivy wins the 4th and final point for Hupai, winning them immunity. They all cheer for her and group hug her. Mark returns to his tribe and they all claim he did well. Justin tells Huhu he'll be seeing them tonight at Tribal Council where they will vote out the 3rd person from Survivor Rivals. Both tribes head back to camp. At Hoo Hoo, Mark tells BJ how embarrassed he felt losing to Ivy, especially knowing it was the last point Hoopai needed. BJ shrugs and doesn't say anything in response. Mark notices he's quiet and asks him if he wants to talk about anything in particular. BJ smirks and says he knows what's going on behind closed doors. Mark shrugs and says he doesn't know what he means by that. BJ tells him he knows that Mark is after him. Mark denies ever saying his name, but BJ knows he's lying to him because of his vote last tribal. Mark tells him he's not lying to him and knows Sarah is still the target tonight. BJ laughs and tells him it's very obvious he's lying, so he tells him to simply try taking him out tonight, and he'll see who gets the last laugh. Mark still pretends to be clueless. Karen and Malum reassure each other it's still Romero tonight. Karen warns him she told Liana he was the third vote for her just because she became way too paranoid, and they don't need that right now. Malum asks her if she's being serious, and Karen realizes she probably shouldn't have said anything. Malum tells her that by her telling Liana this and not him, it gives Liana every reason to distrust them. Karen apologizes a few times to him and says her intention wasn't to mess him up. Malum says that at this point, they need to smooth things over with her. He plans to talk with her after tribal so she doesn't find more reasons to vote for him tonight. Liana, Jaya, and Eric discuss the vote for tonight. Liana knows how much BJ wants Mark out, but she personally wants Malum out tonight. Eric and Jaya tell her the main plan they know about is Romero, but they also don't want BJ to feel left out since he's gunning hard for Mark. Liana says that by voting out Romero, not only are they losing a potential ally, but they also do the dirty work for Malum and Karen. She doesn't trust those two, especially Malum, because he's the third person who voted for her last tribal and he has stayed silent about it. Jaya is stunned to hear this, but Eric doesn't act surprised, knowing very well from previous conversations with Malum and Karen that Liana's name has been spread. Jaya calls Malum a snake and a huge liar, so she's starting to wonder if Malum should go home tonight or if they should wait for another time. Liana claims she'll do whatever the Alliance wants, so if they want to wait a bit longer, she'll be fine with that. Otherwise, they have a clear shot at Malum tonight. They just need to pull in BJ and Romero. Mark talks with Sarah and Malum, letting them know that BJ is targeting him tonight. He wants to ensure it's not him and that it's BJ, so he asks both Sarah and Malum to vote with him. He says they would have the numbers, as long as Eric and Karen are also looped in. Sarah says she's okay with this, especially since nobody else is telling her a name. Malum reluctantly says yes, so all three split away from each other. Meanwhile, Liana talks to Romero and asks him how he's feeling about tonight. Romero says he only knows that Mark is getting some votes because there's a lot of heat on him for his behavior around camp. Liana agrees and says Mark is a solid option to take out. However, she admits to Romero that there are people writing his name down. Romero is stunned and asks her if she could tell him who is after him, and she says that Malum and Karen want him gone. Romero shakes his head and feels a bit paranoid. Liana tells him that the only way she can save him tonight is if they either vote Mark with a few others, or if they blindside Malum. Romero asks her who they would have as votes, and Liana says that she trusts BJ, Jaya, and Eric. Romero says he's down to do whichever name tonight, as long as he doesn't go home. Night 4 hits, and it's time for Tribal Council. They all take a seat and Justin goes straight into the questioning. He asks Mark how horrible he felt after losing the challenge today against Ivy, his rival. Mark claims he personally doesn't have as many problems with Ivy as she does with him, so he's not too hurt by it. If anything, it hurts more that he lost immunity for the tribe. Justin claims it's quite fascinating having this rival's twist in play, so he turns to Sarah and asks her why she eliminated Sam yesterday. She says that she had zero interest playing the game with him. Although she considered keeping him in the case she gets voted out, she didn't want to risk him rejoining the game at Merge. Justin asks Liana if she thinks Sarah made the right choice, and Liana says everyone would make the right choice removing their rival from the game. If you keep your rival, you risk your enemy targeting you in the merge. Justin then focuses the discussion on tonight's vote by first asking Romero if he knows how the tribe is voting tonight. Romero simply says he isn't sure what's going on because he has heard a few names, including his own. Malum turns his head 90 degrees to face Romero after hearing this. Justin then asks Malum if he has heard his own name floating around, and Malum says he hasn't. He also heard a few names, including Mark, because he's hard to work with in the game. Mark speaks up to defend himself and says he's not really that hard to work with. He's just very stressed about the rival's twist. He's serious when he tells people he wants to work with them. Not only that, but he will be a great asset in physical challenges. BJ comments that this game isn't all about physicality, so even if the tribe were to lose Mark, it wouldn't make a huge difference. Justin then ends the discussion and claims they have to get to the vote.
I'll tally the votes. If anyone has a hidden immunity idol and they want to play it, now would be the time to do so. Alright, I'll read the votes. First vote, BJ. BJ. That's 2 votes BJ. Romero. Romero. We're tied, 2 votes BJ, 2 votes Romero. Malum. That's 2 votes BJ, 2 votes Romero, 1 vote Malum. Malum. Tied again, 2 votes Malum, 2 votes BJ, 2 votes Romero. Malum. That's 3 votes Malum, 2 votes BJ, 2 votes Romero. Third person voted out of Survivor Rivals, Malum.
Karen side-eyes Jaya, and Malum gets up to grab his torch. Mark looks around in confusion. Malum places his torch down and gets it snuffed by Justin. He heads to the exit without a word for his tribe and Romero smiles. Justin lets the other 8 know they can now head back to camp, so they make their way there. Malum walks up to a sign and reads that he will now need to head to rival redemption camp where his fate will be decided tomorrow by his rival. Malum rolls his eyes and says he hopes there's a small chance that Emma decides to keep him. In fact, she probably will in order to stay relevant on this show. Without him, she might fear becoming irrelevant, and knowing her, she's all about attention. Malum then walks off, making his way to rival redemption camp. Next time on Survivor Rivals, with Sarah and Mark both left out of the majority vote yet again, and with Karen also blindsided, the new majority of 5 starts to run hoo-hoo. On Hoopai, Tanner tries to rally the votes against Emma and Allison. However, will he be able to flip enough people on them? Or will Emma and Allison keep their alliance strong? Plus, what will Emma decide when she finds out her rival, Mal Lum, was voted out last night? Will she keep him around or eliminate him? Find out on Thursday's episode.